The Monfayette Industrial Park started as 60 acres of forest. Now it's turning into a hotspot for the oil industry here in West Virginia. And as the commercial real estate market continues to rebound, you can expect a whole lot more action to be going on back there. Hunters must complete a hunter's education course to be able to receive this hunter safety card. After receiving this card, you can present it to the folks here at the Sportsman's Refuge to be able to purchase this year's license. It's been a long road for Dolores Tidwell, one of West Virginia's 171,000 veterans. She has a home in Clarksburg, West Virginia, but it wasn't always like that.
Homelessness. Yeah, that was rock bottom. It's the reality of sleeping out on the street or not knowing where to sleep or having anywhere to sleep. That was rock bottom.
Tidwell spent time on the streets as a homeless veteran. Now she works at the Lewis A. Johnson Veteran Affairs Center in Clarksburg. On any given night, there are more than 76,000 veterans experiencing homelessness in the U.S. Pete Doherty is the Director of Homeless Programs for the Department of Veteran Affairs. He says that within the next 4 years, the VA's goal is to end homelessness and prevent it from happening.
We're clearly on the right path. The increased level of services, both in the homeless specific program, but greater access to health care for many of these veterans is making a big difference, and it is an achievable goal.
The VA says the number of homeless veterans in the U.S. has been rapidly declining over the past 2 years. Doherty says when veterans come back, the VA wants to make the transition back to civilian life easier for them.
A moral obligation to make sure that those men and women who put themselves in harm's way, who take that risk of not coming back at all or coming back seriously injured and wounded, that we do everything we can to make sure that they live the American dream.
But not everyone gets to live out the American dream when they return. A house fire left 72-year-old veteran Jeff Cooney is homeless.
It hasn't been a pleasant experience. It really hasn't. I have to say, I'm surviving it, but I am not a happy camper. You know, I'll tell you that right now. I don't, you know, I didn't work 30 years to end up doing this stuff.
2 T-shirts.
Super.
And I'm not sure if we're still looking.
And Cooney is not the only veteran left homeless here in West Virginia. There are 482 homeless veterans in the state, and there are close to 20 in Morgantown alone. West Virginia VA Homeless Coordinator Tammy Fumick says the VA wants to help make it as easy as possible for veterans to receive the help that they need.
When you're used to taking care of yourself, you're a veteran, you're independent, you fought for your country, it's not easy coming and saying, I need help. West Virginia kind of takes care of their own, so we do have a lot of services and can get them into programs as long as they're willing to accept the services that we do have.
Through some of those programs, such as the Compensated Work Therapy Program, Dolores Tidwell was able to find employment, a new home, and a new attitude towards life.
You have to know what you want. Set yourself some goals. It looked like it might be a long ways down the road, but it's really worth it to take advantage of all the programs that the VA has to offer.
Doherty hopes that more homeless veterans follow in Tidwell's footsteps to help achieve the goal of ending veteran homelessness by 2015. Now, when traveling home this winter break, it's always important to keep an eye out for wildlife on the roadways. And one of the ways that's controlled is through seasonal hunting. However, with hunting comes many risks. And I recently found out what's being done to make sure hunters are staying safe. Keith Currents has been a hunter for most of his life, and he says even some of the most experienced hunters can forget things when they're out hunting.
When you're out there sometimes and you're excited, your mind can play tricks on you, and you make yourself see what you want to see.
Mike Goff is a boat technician and sales clerk at the Sportsman's Refuge. He says that the role of firearms has changed in society, but a hunter's education course helps make up for what most people don't learn anymore at a young age.
They just don't have the exposure to guns like they used to. So now the kids are with the weapon for a shorter period of time, so it makes them stop and think about what they're doing, which is a good thing.
Hunters must complete a hunter's education course to be able to receive this hunter safety card. After receiving this card, you can present it to the folks here at the Sportsman's Refuge to be able to purchase this year's license. But after a hunter receives a license, Currents says there are things the Department of Natural Resources could do to reinforce the material learned.
I think they could improve that by, maybe even mailing out a little warning pamphlet every year when you get your license, or handing something like that out. After you get your card, they don't really emphasize the safety anymore.
The average safety course takes about 12 hours to complete, and with children as young as 10 years old taking the test, no safety precaution is too much. Finding a job after college can be a job in itself these days, but WVU is doing its best to help graduating seniors find work. I'm Paul Espinosa.
Here at West Virginia University.
And with the recent economic recession, finding employment is just not as easy as it used to be. December graduates may have to put forth more effort than in the past. Drug users may want to think twice about getting their fix on campus as university police are cracking down. I'm Paul Espinosa. Anytime one of our teams wins the Big East, it's something to be excited about. And this season, we already have one Big East title. WVU News sports reporter Paul King joins us with the story. Paul? I tell you, Marissa, I think the Mountaineers are going to need all the support they can get, but I think anyone that has watched this team during this win streak, they just seem to have that X factor, and you definitely have to think they're going to be able to pull this one out.
I couldn't agree more, and I really can't wait to watch the game this weekend.
It's going to be good.
I've been playing old-time music all my life. In the 70s, my older brother would like to listen to David Bowie and things like that, and I'd just turn it off because I wanted to listen to old-time music. It speaks to me better than pasteurized, processed stuff you hear on the radio. When I was about 14, I was playing my mom's dulcimer. We had a family band, but I wanted to be able to take the dulcimer with me wherever I wanted to go, and so I needed my own instrument. My family always made things and fixed things. I figured I could make one. I made it, and it turned out just fine. And that pretty well started me on this career as I know it. I loved the way the older instruments looked and felt. I focused more on repair than I did on building. Part of the old-time music and the old instruments really do tie in together, because a lot of the recordings that we admire, the performers are using instruments that were made in the 20s and or from 1900 forward. So those instruments are an important part of the music, because newer ones aren't going to quite sound right. You can play the music, but it's not going to have the same tone. There's a certain fullness to the older instruments. You want your work to mimic the original maker's work, so that somebody 20 years down the road picks it up and say, wow, this is nice. Nobody's fooled with it. To me, that's the ultimate compliment, that we were able to blend our repairs and improvements in with, what somebody made 100 years ago. I can't think of anything I like better than getting a chisel razor sharp and taking off shavings of wood off a neck to fit it correctly that are thinner than your hair. That, to me, that's more fun than anybody should be allowed to have. I am completely in control of this little process. Every little shaving is coming off with a purpose because I want it to. Nobody else is influencing this, so it's just my little bubble, letting me do something creative and precise. And when I'm done and I string up an instrument, there's no doubt a wow factor to say, yeah, that was worth it. It's repair land. There's always a bit of mystery.